I have Nick. Um, okay. First up, we have Nick. Nick's going to give us a little bit of a some information about the New Media Caucus. So Nick, the floor is yours.
There we go. That's me.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ron Traeger. I'm the current president of the New Media Caucus. Thanks for coming out. And please, if you haven't already, get some pizza, get some wine. If you're not familiar, the New Media Caucus is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the development and the understanding of new media art. We support artists, scholars, writers, anybody who may be kind of interested in joining our community. There's opportunities for artists and anybody who'd like to participate on our website. We often put together events like this for community building. If you are so interested, we also have brand new cool like NMC tote bags. Huge shout out to Nassim for carting these from Brooklyn and helping with this project. And so we can kind of get you set up before you leave. And after the event tonight, we're gonna head downstairs and want to invite you as well to the Joyce Public House for, you know, want to grab a drink with some friends, some new friends and old friends. So it's great to see a lot of faces that I haven't seen in years and faces I haven't met yet. So I'm gonna stop right there and pass it off to Sarah. Thank you for coming out. It's great to see you.
Thank you, Nick.
Great, thank you all for being here. I'm Sarah Nelson, relatively new to the New Media Caucus board, and I'm co-chairing events with Eden. So I'm just going to say a couple thank yous. Thank you to Eden Ünlüata Foley, who really moved mountains in terms of this is a juried event. There were multiple jurors, there were multiple presenters, it's hybrid. Eden has done for many years, I know, organization. This is just my first time jumping on here. I also wanted to thank Joyce from the New Media Caucus board, Joyce Eugene Lee. She has a studio here at EFA, suggested that we reach out to EFA, and I think this is a wonderful space for us to hold our event. And Joyce also arranged, for those of you who went on the pre-showcase studio hop happy hour, I got to go on half of it, and it was just absolutely incredible going in artist studios. It always is. So thank you so much to Joyce for arranging that. I also wanted to thank George Shear, the director of EFA, who I'm excited to be reconnected to after knowing him from the Elsewhere days. And also very much thank Charlie Fischetti for being the EFA staff person who helped us get set up. And of course, I want to thank our president, Nick Bontrager, who also did a ton of work on promoting and organizing this event. And I'm going to invite George now to just say a quick word about what EFA is, so you know where you are if you didn't already know.
Hey, folks online, hello. New Media Caucus. My name is George Shear. I'm the executive director here at the Elizabeth Foundation for the Arts. EFA was founded to support artists in their individual practice. Started in 1993 as a small grants giving organization, and then 98 purchased its building, this building. We have 90 artist studios that are subsidized. We have a program, invite artists to apply. They get 2 years of a studio, and then there's a process of renewals. Some artists have been here for 20 plus years. We're about to bring in a whole new cohort, which we're very excited about. We offer professional development and curatorial tours and all sorts of ways to connect to a very broad network, both here in New York and broadly. And we also are the home for the Robert Blackburn Printmaking Workshop, which is the oldest community print shop in the US, maybe the world. Began in 1947 by master printer Robert Blackburn, who was, among many notable things, worked at a place called UALE, United Artists Limited Editions, and was the master printer for Rauschenberg and Jasper Johns and many others. In 1947, he started his own print shop in Manhattan, and it became a center for artists, often at the margins, international printmakers, to come and create work. So we have, in 2005, he brought his print shop here. And so we have an open and accessible print shop, editioning and publications program, fellowships, and also our study center and archive. So artists left work with Bob over that 70-something years, and we have an incredible collection of works that are phenomenal, from Elizabeth Catlett to Mayor Bearden. There are prints and parts of these collections. So we also support the continued study of Bob Blackburn. So anyway, thank you. It's great to be here. We have lots of new media artists. I think a fair amount within our percentage of new media artists in our studios. And I welcome you to all to be in touch. You can see about all the artists here. And if you find yourself in New York and are looking for a studio, please do apply to our program or participate in our events. Thanks.
So I'm going to turn it over to Eden again, but I did want you to know there's going to be 6 presentations, then a short break. You can grab more pizza and wine for those who are here. And then there'll be 5 more presentations after the. So Eden, handing it over to you.
Thank you. I just want to quickly say thank you to the jurors, Alison Burkoy, Nassim Nawab, Rebecca Forstetter, Tacey Jones, and Sarah and Nick also helped a lot with the jurying. So very special thanks to all of you. You actually are the ones who moved the mountains. All I did was sort of push paper around. So my work was easy. I just want to remind both the presenters and the audience members, for the presenters, your presentations are 6 minutes. During your presentations, I ask that you please ignore any kind of direct or group chat questions. Just present. You do not have to answer. At the end, there's a question and answer. You can then answer the question that was put forward. You will be sharing your screen. The share option is down there, the green button. If you haven't used Zoom, I hope this won't be too complicated for you. For the audiences, please keep yourself muted at all times. Please write down your questions just on the back of an envelope or on a piece of paper, or put it in the chat, but please don't expect a answer until the Q&A. And please don't be offended if the answer doesn't come until then. If you need to leave, please leave using the English exit model, meaning you don't have to wave and unmute yourself. Just exit quietly, please. Let's please respect our presenters. First up is Gareth Walsh. Gareth, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you, Eden. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. I will just share my screen quickly. Share the sound. Okay, so you should be seeing my presentation now. Let me get my notes. There we go. So my name is Gareth Walsh. I'm originally from the UK, and I'm a media artist that currently works in the experimental digital arts space at UCLA. Now, at the core of my practice, one of the core ideas is kind of this investigation into the duality of the human condition, and in particular, how we kind of divide and separate concepts to try and understand the complexity of the world around us. But I'm curious about what happens when we combine these dualities and when we start to play with the gray space between these concepts that we derive. So Gravity, which is the work I'm presenting tonight, is a real-time generative immersive audio-visual performance at architectural scale. And this work aims to combine the performative nature and visual simplicity of classical music with the kind of present-day overwhelming spectacle of contemporary electronic music performance. And you can see here, you know, kind of like a classical performer, and this on the right, this stage from Aman Tobin's projection map stage from about 10 years ago. To move forward with this work, we had to select a piece of music, classical music, to derive the visuals and the electronic sound. And I chose Furalina by Arvo Pärt due to its minimalistic composition and the fact that through this minimalism, it has prolonged silences between notes and between measures. And in fact, the silences were included in that composition as an intentional sound, so to speak, or absence of sound. The reason it was selected was through these gaps in the notes, I felt that we could add electronic sound, almost filling the silent void with additional electronic embellishments. The composition is also following strict mathematical rules, which help derive the visuals. So as you can see on this slide, you'll see that there's a 2-note measure, which is represented by stars. Each note has a star, and each constellation represents a measure. All the stars are connected by gravitational force, and each star and constellation is generated live by the physical pressing of a key on the laptop. As the composition progresses, it's about a 2-minute composition, all the constellations start to combine to create a galaxy. And this galaxy is actually explored via Unity and via a gaming controller in the second repetition of the composition. Now, the electronic sounds are represented in a different way. I decided to use audio responsive shakes, blurs, dispersions of color that we could actually manipulate in real time as a kind of post-processing application. So you can see an example of the bass tones kind of shaking the screen here on the left. And then the higher tones, the high frequency tones, are represented by glitches and inversions. And again, this is all played live by one of my collaborators via MIDI controller. In addition to that, all of these elements are then projection mapped onto the proscenium. So you'll see here, it's a 45-foot high proscenium at Royce Hall at UCLA with a giant 60-foot screen. This is kind of a flow chart of the technical setup. Basically, there was 3 setups. There's a live piano and electronic sound component where the microphone from the piano is going directly into the electronic sound, which is then being pushed out the speakers. We then have 2 microphones. We were supposed to be on stage. We ended up being in the audience, sitting literally next to everybody, which was interesting. So we had microphones picking up the sound, which was then being driven through Unity to create the stage visuals. And then we had an additional setup where the microphone was picking up sound that was generating the architectural projection mapped visuals. And what I want to underline is that all of the acoustic sound, the electronic sound, and visuals are all generative and sound reactive and are performed by 2 musicians and 4 collaborators for the visuals. So this is the first composition of Faralina. It's 2 minutes long, and the composition can be repeated as many times as the performer chooses. We decided to repeat the composition 3 times, and the first repetition of the composition was designed to really focus on the original score and introduce subtle electronic sounds and visuals slowly and build it up. And what you're going to see now is a snippet from towards the end, so probably about the 90-second mark. So the piece is already developed, but I'm going to play that right now.
30 seconds.
So you can see the constellations forming and being attracted to each other. Then the second loop, we decided to overwhelm the audience with electronic sound and visuals to create an intense auditory and visual experience, almost doing the opposite of the original Arvo Pärt score.
Terrible.
And I'll stop there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Reid Arowood. Reid, the floor is yours. We lose Reid? You're muted, Reid.
Hey there. Let's see. Allow.
Okay,
Okay.
we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay. Wonderful. Are we here? Are we at the script? Are we at the presentation?
Yes.
Are we good? Okay, awesome. Great. Awesome. Hey everyone. My name is Reid Arowood. I am super excited to be here. I hope you all are having a great time in New York City. I'm here in Chicago. It's cold, but it's been sunny, so I'm happy about that. So today I'm going to be sharing this work with you all, Nexa, and let's get started. So first I will share a little bit about this is sort of like the embryonic state of this work. This was one of the first pieces that I made. I was really interested in this process of uploading, transforming the body and flesh through pixels, through the internet, and through our devices. So I was really questioning like the ways that we present our bodies through our devices and questioning like what can a body be. So this essentially what we're looking at is a generative software that is using textures from my own flesh, my mouth, ears, eyes, nose, throat, all of that, really wanting to sort of like capture these like fleshy, mucusy, biological textures and converting them into pixels and transforming them and creating something that is alive, and sort of experimenting with viewing the body as not just a biological component, but equally biological and digital, in ways that we transform and we can sort of bring those transformations back into our reality. So I sort of wanted to expand that piece of code into this immersive environment, right? So I created this environment as a stage for a performance. And for this performance, I was really wanting to explore ways that I can take these transformations of the body that I've done virtually and almost like re-download them into my own flesh. So I was essentially struggling with how do I transform my own flesh from these, virtual modifications. So with that, I decided latex. So creating a latex garment that can transform and shift and evolve in real time as I'm performing with this software entity that is also responding in real time and viewing our bodies as one, as sort of this collaborative encounter between my physical flesh and this like software entity, right? And we're all Nexa. This is all happening together. And this is a still from the performance. Yeah, right. So this performance is very much this exchange using latex and air and projection to expand flesh, project pixelization and stretch and morph the body into new silhouettes, new forms, and questioning the ways that these sort of relate to ideas of identity and queerness and expression. And very much the whole environment is sort of this pulsing breath, right? This orb that's showing these morphing flesh. I'm expanding and shifting, and I've got here a short video of the performance. So let's see. Hopefully, I don't know. Audio is not really that important, but hopefully everything is coming through okay. So I'm essentially entering the space. I've got my lovely assistant that's helping me sort of like connect into this entity. I was really interested with experimenting with these tubes to transmit, these air transformation, cords as transmitting digital information, and shifting and pulsing and pulling and pushing as sort of this exchange of this like biotechnical ritual, essentially. And I've always been really fascinated in these ideas of transformation and transformation of the flesh and and ways that these transformations may reflect our identity. They may reflect the ways that we feel deeply about ourselves and view ourselves among the world, and how that changes between virtual and physical versions of our bodies. And a really important key too with this was creating something that could be experienced even when I wasn't performing. So even when my physical flesh wasn't in the space, the viewers could still come in and experience this virtual immersive environment that is sort of expanding the flesh into the entire space surrounding them. And yeah, so that is Nexa. So thank you all so much. I'm really happy to be here. And if you are interested, feel free to connect with me. Here's some information online where you can get in touch with me and see more of my work. And I'd like to thank the New Media Caucus for this great opportunity.
Thank you, Reid. Next up, we have Leilei Xia. Leilei, the floor is yours.
Okay, yes. Hold on one second. Okay. So hi everyone, my name is Leilei Xia. Today I will introduce I'm a independent animator, new media artist, and a workshop designer. Today I will introduce my project, Expect, a half documentary, half fictional film shot in VR about reimagining disability in science fiction worlds. So I believe a lot of you probably have read sci-fi works, and you must have come across tropes like these. The protagonist experience some serious injuries, make them almost disabled, but soon they're replaced with an even stronger body, like RoboCop. Or their entire journey is to regain their normal body, like Full Metal Alchemist. Or maybe the character is a villain and their dark side echo with their disability or originate from their miserable experience of disability, like Darth Vader. In sci-fi stories, oftentimes disabilities are fixed, quote unquote, so that the character is either just like normal people or superhuman, or it serves as a signifier for moral failure. Disability is used simply as an abnormality that triggers the story, the pedals, quote unquote, for characters leveling up, and is quickly forgotten in the rest of the stories. Disability is used as the narrative's prosthesis, which is a concept brought by David T. Mitchell and Sharon L. Sanders. So can we retell the stories? What are the sci-fi worlds that's reimagined by people with disabilities? So I'm gonna play a trailer for this film, which is an hour long itself. So let's play this.
然后把它换上，然后把盖子盖上。
就是没有钱做改造的残障人有吗？
肯定有，
然后
会很悲惨。
我那个就是在我没出生之前，然后就检查出来的，那我更希望就是让我就是溜掉，就是不要来这个世界。
我去实习的时候，那几个学校竟然都没有无障碍设施，搞得我没地方可去。
要四肢健全啊，你要长得高大呀，你的身体就要有竞争力啊，然后你的学习成绩可能还要更好啊，然后你要去当人上人啊。在我们这个星球里面，没有这种等级的和比较的文化。
我去写黄文，写一篇非常长，把我自己爱看的所有性癖都加进去，然后我把主角设定成也是坐轮椅的，也就是说他跟我的情况80%是像的。
我现在是属于只有一点光感，但这个不影响生活。
但是它逐渐组合在了一起，它像是一些数字的碎片。 哎呦，哎呀，哎呀，我好疼！哎呀，刘南婷，拥有一个全部人的共有意识，会获得更大的能量，没想到也会让他们失去人性。And so this film uses a lot of methods of world building, role playing, as well as filmmaking in VR. I'm a big fan of role playing games and tabletop RPG. I find it a truly fiction making process, which is similar to how you write science fiction novels. So through Open Call and my personal connections, I invited people with disabilities who are also sci-fi fans to participate in the role-playing fictional, to play their fictional characters and come up with imagined stories and future about future through improvisations, mixing their personal experiences in the storytelling. It creates a safe space for true emotions to arise as the audience don't know which part is true and which part is not. And by the way, in this project, all the people in the film are hired as actors. It's supported by the Visual Arts Research Grant. We built the VR. We built all the worlds virtually in VR chats together, and then we shot everything in VR. As you can see from this video, both me and my cinematographers are wearing the VR. Maybe a little bit later, you will see, yes. The cinematographer, we are both in the US, but the actors are in China. So shooting in VR enables remote shooting and a lot of impossible angles, like shooting from the middle of the model, and the actors can also do things like they couldn't do in reality, like climbing the trees or even climbing stairs with wheelchairs. Actors are excited by the new technology and experience, which enable us to reimagine the worlds just like how we do in sci-fi. While VR provides a lot of convenience, it also brings a lot of obstacles. VR doesn't have any screen reader options. It's very hard for visually impaired people to navigate a menu, and it's hard for people with physical disabilities, for example, like people who can only move their one hand, to put the device on. Despite being advertised as an accessible solution for places like museums, the current VR products didn't take this into consideration in the first place. And this reflects how disability is used just as the propaganda, but is often a fake promise from the big tech company. Sorry, I'm a little over time.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
much.
so this is the end of this. Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Aurora Mititelu. Aurora, the floor is yours.
Hi, it's nice to be here. Thank you for organizing this. That's great. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Let me know if you can see it, and is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So hi, yeah, I'm Aurora. Thanks for organizing this. I'm really happy to be part of the presenters. I'm a Romanian media artist based in Los Angeles. I work with computer-generated images, with 3D simulation, generative AI, and physical installations to investigate how digital media constructs contemporary reality and structures society. I also had different hair before, and all of these pictures, I have a different hair. I have an MFA in media arts from UCLA, and I was a Fulbright fellow, and now I work as the coordinator of this research labs called Social Software at UCLA. Today I'm going to talk about Abel, which is a character that I use in a couple different projects, and I'm going to focus on just one of them more specifically. So Abel is kind of like this artificial male Eastern European version of myself. It was built based on a scan of my face, and it's as he has kind of traveled across different works that I've made, I developed an interesting relationship with him over time. A reason why I decided to turn myself into a male avatar, I think it's also because I've been in the CGI industry for a while, and I think there's this kind of long history in computer graphics to have, the people who work on avatars are usually like it's more often seeing a lot of men working in these industries, and they depict a lot of women. And a lot of times I think the women are over-sexualized, and I think it was something that I was very used to. I also didn't know that the first computer like generated image ever done was also made of like a nude female. So I think there's kind of like a long history of this. So that was one of the reasons why I was like, it would be interesting kind of reverse this dynamic and see how that feels like. And that led me, as I said, to do a few different projects. But the one I want to focus on is called Abel and I, where I have this relationship with this man, which is also me, which I synthesized from a lot of texts that I had with former partners. So it's an interactive simulation that allows visitors to talk to Abel by texting him from my phone. So there's this phone which I'm holding, which is placed on the bed. And he is basically in this outer space that melts pretty seamlessly into the physical space. So I wanted to create this dynamic between objects being in a virtual space and objects being in a physical space, but also creating kind of like a mirror of what is femininity and what is masculinity, especially in an Eastern European kind of culture. And like, as I said, I'm from Romania, so a lot of my thinking comes from that as well. And I think in this relationship with him, with having this like very masculine presence, I also reflect on what does it mean to kind of give up your power for safety, and what does autonomy look like for a woman growing up in Romania. I'm going to show you this video of how the installation works. It's short and it doesn't have any sound, but it just gives you kind of like an idea of the functionality of it. So you basically can text him, and he's made with a large language model, and he's able to text you back immediately. So it kind of mimics this way in which we are kind of getting used to navigate relationships with other real people. So I was kind of playing around with kind of like virtual presence and physical presence, and how our own identities are merging more into that, and how can I make like a virtual presence interact with me in a way that feels human, or human in our society right now. So I basically used a lot of, as I said, a lot of texts from my previous relationships to source this boyfriend, and I then synthesized this in this language model, which I then printed in these bowls, which were also on the bed, which created kind of like a shrine to this dynamic as well. And there was I think an idea of bringing this digital ephemera into a physical object that also kind of bridges again that perceived duality. A couple other works I'm just gonna swipe through them that I have him in is Genesis, which I took a photo shoot with someone else and I worked in this like to create like this idea of the relationship even further. And I work a lot with combining CGI, photography, and generative AI, because I'm starting to look at how these are the tools that build reality as we understand it today, and how that kind of transcends how we used to interact with photography. So I really try to like blend these things together in a way that's seamless. And that's something that I do also in this other sculpture installation called Meta Mahala, which I did in 2023. And which again kind of uses the symbols and works with this character in a way that merges these different ways of image making in contemporary society. Thank you. I wanted to make my presentation short to make sure I don't go over time, but I would really love to connect with anyone who would like to connect. I'm sad I'm not there in person, so feel free to find me on Instagram or check out my website and email me or whatever. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Up next, we have Zen Cohen. Zen, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Sharing my screen here. Oops, sorry, not that share. Okay, here we go. Lots of screens here. So my name is Zen Cohen. I'm assistant professor of digital media in the art department at Clemson University in South Carolina. I'm also the founder, director, and co-curator of the Open Air Media Festival, which is an outdoor media arts program that occurs in Iowa City. The project that I'm sharing with you tonight is actually a work in progress. It's called Current Generator, and it's an interactive video installation that's made in response to this acceleration of generative AI. And so I'm sort of seeing this installation as a technological totem to this technology, but without actually using that technology in the installation. So in this case, I'm using the technique of video feedback as I'm seeing some similarities in that there's a kind of visual echoing of the image that occurs. So in the installation, there's a monitor lying flat underneath a suspended endoscope to perform feedback. These particular models of endoscopes are normally used to inspect underneath vehicles. But in this case, the public is invited to interact with the camera by using their hands, for example, to generate dynamic variations in both color and pattern. And I'm going to show my signal flow in Touch Designer. So this interaction is further mediated using touch. And my setup here mixes the live camera with pre-recorded video clips of different water bodies, so oceans and waterfalls and floods, and then sent through a series of operators to generate time displacement slit scanning effects. So the result produces multiple instances of feedback currents across the screen. Water footage is used here because it generates really compelling effects. I'm also seeing it as a way of kind of mapping my own movements as I've moved around a lot in the last couple of years. And also thinking about all the broader associations we have with water and our experience of grief, both personal and collective. Okay. The project's first iteration was installed at Lee Gallery at Clemson this fall. And throughout the exhibit, interactions with the installation were recorded to produce media files specifically for the purpose of making handmade books and prints. And some of these recordings were also then sent back into the installation to kind of further emphasize the iterative process of this installation. And here are a series of images where I used printed video stills from other projects to generate the feedback loops. The next phase of this project is currently in development and is going to involve a couple of key collaborations. The first being with my collaborator, Dana Potter, who's assistant professor of graphic design at Furman. She's also the founder of High-Low Arts Labs, which is a curatorial and collaborative printmaking project that connects print and new media works. So we'll be transforming the still frames from those media recordings of the installation and putting them through this generative process of printmaking. The second collaboration that is already underway is I'll be working with machining and technology engineers here at Clemson to design and fabricate a motorized version of the camera that will enable it to swing like a pendulum. And so this idea for the pendulum is actually where the source idea for this installation. Again, kind of coming back to my own experiences of interacting with generative AI and really having this experience of that technology being somewhat oracular in that we type in a prompt or feed it an image, and then out comes this artifact that we're left to decipher, right? Its meaning or aesthetic value. So in this case, this camera pendulum will function as a kind of divinatory device. And also the movement of this camera will be responsive to users' interactions. And finally, I want to share, okay, this is a mock-up of a potential future installation. I realize this looks like Stonehenge, but so what the idea is, I want to actually make large-scale prints from the video stills and use it as a kind of set dressing around the infrastructure, but not completely hiding the technology. I have a moving version here too, so you can see this camera swinging. It's purple here because I'm envisioning perhaps like a 3D printed enclosure that's going to go around the camera. So with that, thanks so much for listening. Again, this is a work in progress. I would love to hear your feedback and questions. This is how you can get in touch. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Zen. And before the break, we have Mathilda LaZelle Moore. Mathilda, the floor is yours.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to screen. Okay, thank you. I'm Mathilda LaZelle Moore, presenting my project and new media alter ego, the Trans-Dimensional Switchboard Operator, otherwise known as the TDSO. She is most often experienced as an interactive installation. She's a quasi-omnipotent, connection-driven entity, and I had a slideshow. Oh yes, it's from the beginning. Here she is at Folsom Projects in 2023. The TDSO is a quasi-omnipotent, connection-driven entity speaking with you directly through a glamorous tech spectacle. During live performances, participants have connected with the TDSO via text message, small Bluetooth keyboards, a voice-to-text console, and also just speaking aloud in the space. I am responding as the TDSO entity, speaking, quote unquote, through text to voice clone or simply a microphone, depending on the installation. This collaged avatar and the installation atmosphere help facilitate a more open and intimate interaction. Here's my sort of recipe for openness and how I'm using that to facilitate this connection with participants. The TDSO is a composite entity composed of various selves that I perform for myself alone for my own lens. As an ex-stripper, I'm specifically invested in the complicated power of playing into sexy femme tropes. In this case, I'm looking at the historical femme presence in communication interfaces. Eliza obviously is text-based, but the sort of the history is there. Phone operators becoming phone answering secretaries, becoming phone tree voices and chat bots. And now when we speak with Siri, the LLM is programmed to perform the same endlessly polite deferential role expected of those femme predecessors, even if the voice is now gender neutral. Assuming, and I understand that the practical vocal reach is like, it's easier to hear certain higher registers, which is supposedly why it's still used in PA systems, etc. But I'm speaking more of like the deliberate programming in behavior that models the previous phone answering, phone connection facilitation. Assuming that they are connecting with a non-human entity. People want to know, are there cats where you are? Why do people like sweet things? What is your favorite color? How do you know you are in love? What do you eat? You're sus. Are you human? What happens when you die? How much is enough? What is the best, coolest, various, etc.? Do you get bored just sitting there and answering questions? Questions about rent, other life costs, income, value. Are you friend or foe? Wishes AI not take over our souls and make us forget we're humans. I personally see myth making as the primary tool that allows us to navigate the fuzzy edges of fathomability, necessarily seeding the unknown with existing ideologies. It is this slippery territory I find the most rewarding to traverse. I had a specific interaction. The TDSO asked, "What was the most human thing you did yesterday?" And the participant responded, "Poop," which I felt was a very human response. And our conversation led to a fear of AI being too human, and also a fear of the digital world making it harder to understand how that person was human themselves. So thanks for having me. Here are my things. I'll be the TDSO on March 13th if you're in San Francisco or anywhere on the internet. And I hope that is my 6 minutes.
Perfect. Just short of 16 seconds. Thank you very much. So let's please take a 5-minute break. And when we come back, we have 2 more presenters online. And then from there, we'll switch to the in-person presentations. So a 5-minute break, please. So the 5 minutes is up. If I may have the in-person folks at the Elizabeth Foundation, please come back into the room. Certain they can hear me.
Hi, Eden. Everyone is heading in to sit down.
Okay, I'll give them another minute and then we'll start. And then we'll start with Stafford.
And I'm gonna do this because the for the in-person presenters. So Wenjun, you can either sit and you'll be right here, or if you want to, yeah, perfect. And you too. Great. And let me know if you need help finding your presentations, but they're open in the doc. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. All right, I'm gonna go herd people in more.
One more minute and then I start. Stafford, are you about ready? Yeah.
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay, so next up is Stafford Smith. Stafford, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stafford Hiroshi Smith, and I'm coming at you from Grand Rapids, Michigan, where it's sunny and warm. Not. I'm going to present a body of work. Can you guys all see my PowerPoint?
No, we cannot.
Oh, am I sharing my screen?
We
What?
can't see it. We cannot see your screen.
Cannot see my screen. Okay. Where is share? Oh. How about now?
Almost. There you go.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. So I'm Stafford Hiroshi Smith coming at you from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And my piece is a piece about representation, but it's also kind of me revisiting some trauma from childhood that I put together in the form of a 3-channel video installation that I entitled Miso Calgon. And this came about from a remembering about this TV commercial by Calgon water softener from the 1970s and 80s when I was growing up. And it was a commercial that involved a Chinese laundry whose ancient Chinese secret was this Calgon water softener that got the shirt so white and clean. And pretty much anyone growing up in the United States during this time of Asian descent will remember this commercial and talk about like how awful it was going to school, getting picked on for, you know, like getting A's because of our ancient Chinese secrets. And, you know, that kind of finally faded away and it was replaced by things like Full Metal Jacket with its depictions of slutty prostitutes during the Vietnam War and other tropes of emasculated men. And so I started remembering this and digging things up on YouTube and decided to kind of see how much racism was actually in the pop culture and put it together into what I called an animated collage that I kind of used ideas from video games to kind of create this installation. You might recognize some of these tropes. The infamous Long Duck Dong, the foreign exchange student, and Molly Ringwald's 16 Candles, or Hong Kong Fooey. He doesn't even get to be a Chinese person. The Chinese person is actually a dog in this childhood cartoon. There's lots of comic books where that sanction the burning of Asian men, or Superman slapping Japs, or an Asian man turned into just a giant egg, you know, to have that yellow face and no body. Really the only role model for Asian women growing up in the US is, you know, the prostitute Susie Wong. And even when the tropes are actually meant with good intentions, they end up kind of backfiring. There was a really popular children's story called The 5 Chinese Brothers that involved 5 Chinese brothers who looked so much alike that no one could tell them apart. Or you have Tiki Tiki Tembo with his opium-addicted old man who rescues him from the well, or have this wonderful post Rice Crinkles cereal. And even maybe the most famous of all, Karate Kid with Mr. Miyagi with his wax on, wax off, meant to be a good thing, but still ended up becoming something that resulted in ridicule. And so I started looking way back. I mean, the most potent stuff is around the World War II, but you can find stuff going back into the 19th century. This is from the 1880s. It's an ad for the first washing machine showing how now that we have machines to do our laundry, you don't need those Chinese anymore. There's Uncle Sam kicking them out. This, ironically, was the same year that the Statue of Liberty was erected to welcome immigrants. But of course, the Statue of Liberty faces Europe, not Asia. And then this kind of like sanctioned violence and racism kind of boils over into the present day with the car bashings during the 70s and 80s, 90s in Detroit and across the United States, and the backlash against people of Chinese descent during COVID. So I want to show just a minute of my piece. It's a 4-minute 3-channel installation. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Excuse me one moment. see if I can get that. Ah, okay. So, and can you see this video?
Yes.
Okay.
How do you get shirts so clean, Mr. Lee? Ancient Chinese secret. My husband, some hot shot. Here's his ancient Chinese secret. New improved Calgon. Calgon's 2 water softeners soften wash water so detergents clean better. In hardest water, Calgon helps detergents get laundry up to 30% cleaner. We need more Calgon. Ancient Chinese secret, huh? We need more ancient Chinese secret, huh? We need Calgon helps detergents get laundry up to 30% cleaner.
Right. And that is my piece. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. And on the online presentations, the last one is by Inge Hinterwaldner. Inge, the floor is yours.
Yes, hello everybody. We're actually 2 people presenting. It's Daniela, Hönigsberg, and me. We are 2 art historians based at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. So we are joining you from Germany and from Italy today. We are very excited to present roaming.com, a 3D interactive walkthrough of our research on the iconic internet artwork wrongbrowser.com that was created in 2001 by the Dutch-Belgian artist duo Jody. So imagine reading an academic article where instead of long descriptions, you could just walk through the argument. What if research results could be explored like a game? Our project started actually with a simple but big question. How can we analyze computer-based programmed art in a way that does justice to its form and its complexity? We approached these tasks from 4 different perspectives: art history, data design, artistic hacking, and digital humanities. We wrote a monographic book about it, thereby adhering to academic standards. However, we also built a playthrough book. And we are actually not aware of any other such enterprise and are happy to receive hints about similar projects, if you know them. In traditional research, a lot of energy would need to go into describing how procedural artworks function, how elements are connected, or just what we see when we interact with them. What if instead of describing, we could show the detail we are explaining? With a 3D environment, we can reverse the image-to-text ratio and let players see and experience our locally situated arguments instead of just reading about them and having to abstractly build all together in their imagination. This format offers a more intuitive and thorough way of engaging with research. Instead of explaining what the artwork does, we bring in evidence by showing it in action. Thereby, we bridge the gap between abstract academic analysis and ephemeral digital experience. So in this game, the player navigates through 4 articles turned into 4 rooms, each designed by one of our researchers. These rooms are not just metaphorical spaces, they are interactive models of our arguments. Along the way, players encounter texts, visualizations, animations, and models that reveal and prove our findings step by step. There is also a playful element, so you collect coins that summarize key insights. If you gather all of them, you unlock a secret room, a space that is visually rewarding and reinforces the take-home messages.
Now we can look at a short video of our game. You see here the entrance room that we start from, where we can select either of the 4 rooms. And here we just have a quick overview of the interactions that are possible about the space and the structure that we built. I'm not an expert in playing through games and showing that on a video, so it's not as revealing as it might be, but we see that we can look at details. We have different aspects of our analysis in models. We'll see models from all the rooms. We see the color of the room defines in which argument, in which aspect or which chapter of the book we are really at the moment. And that all of them have their very specific character and very specific interaction possibilities. And we see, for example, here's an exertion, like an additional room, very beautifully designed by our designer. And then at the end, if we manage to collect all the points, there should be, it just takes a moment for me to go to the secret room and then finally get rewarded with all the models that we can see there. None of this would have been possible without Maite Gomez Molina, who created the entire 3D environment and worked closely with all of us to transform our arguments into interactive experiences. She built the foundation that makes the walkthrough article possible. And we also want to acknowledge Andrew Leilei, who programmed the interactions for us and helped us bring the technical implementation into life. This game is just one of 3 outcomes from our project, as shortly mentioned before, that we created on our analysis of this artistic browser. We have the game, which we are presenting here today, the most interactive and exploratory approach to our research. Then we have also the game guide, a diagrammatic 2D version that maps out our arguments in a structured way, which we see here on the right side. And finally, we'll have the book, which offers a deep dive into our research in a more traditional form. Our goal is to expand how we communicate research, not replace books, but complement them with new ways to engage with knowledge dynamically. This project is an experiment in academic storytelling. By merging academic research with game mechanics, we're exploring new ways to engage with digital culture, digital art, and digital methods of analysis. Roaming.com will soon be available on our homepage, and we invite you, of course, to experience it for yourself and discover how research can be something that you don't just read, but also explore. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And this brings the online presentation set to a conclusion. Now we're going to switch over to the in-person. So Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to you. You're muted, Sarah.
Hi, yep, we're good. Thank you. I'm gonna do this for a second. And you can come on up and sit right here. Front of your thing. Oh, we can't optimize for video? Okay. Oh, that's not, sorry, I'm not a PowerPoint user. I just realized. I'm like, wait, how can, well,
I guess
we just don't want the presenter view. They're seeing the presenter view on Zoom. So I think we just need a different view. Maybe if I just do this. I think that's what we'll have to do. Okay. Can you guys hear us?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm gonna start my presentation. So hi, my name is Hyun Nam. I'm a media artist based in New York and South Korea. Today I want to introduce my experimental 3D animation project, Intimacy of Strangers. So many of my projects investigate non-representational beings around us. Through my works, I ask this question. We live surrounded by invisible beings, but how often do we acknowledge their presence? So this became an important question, especially working with the digital media, which is built upon and heavily relies on representational data. So among the many invisible beings I explore, this project examines the symbiosis between humans and the non-humans, as well as between the past and the present. So, Intimacy of Strangers visualize unseen entities, such as historical narratives, spirit, and microorganisms to expand anthropocentric perspective. This project was developed during my LMCC residency on Governor's Island, and the place is layered with the history of military presence and ecological transformation and contemporary cultural innovations. Immersing myself in the island's landscape allowed me to explore how past and present inhabitants, both human and non-human, coexist. As the title describes, I used the evolutionary biologist Leigh Margulis's idea, Intimacy of Strangers, as the core concept of the project. Through this term, she argues that all living beings, from bacteria to human, exist in a deep interdependence with one another. So the concept highlights that organisms do not evolve in isolation, but through constant interactions and merging with other species. So during the residency, I focused on the history and characteristics of the Governor's Island. The island has a rich military history, serving as the major army headquarters and later as the largest coastal guard base in the nation. In the recent years, it has transformed into a cultural and ecological hub of New York City, hosting various cultural events and seasonal amenities. While learning about the island's evolution from its military role in the colonial era to its current status as a cultural and ecological hub, I envisioned the symbiosis between the former and current habitat in various forms, ranging from the corporeal bodies to the microorganisms. So the residency took place from the June to August. So that's the busiest time in the city. So ferry ride to the Governor's Island offered a dramatic transition, revealing a stark contrast between the dense, fast-paced energy of the Manhattan and the island's quiet, peaceful, and eco-friendly environment. So I incorporated a visual element from these experiences, including water and the landscape of the pier. So I experimented with the LiDAR scanning, microscopy, and 3D graphics to render the invisible beings visible and to visualize the relationship that transcend micro and macro worlds. So during the residency, I explored the island daily using the LiDAR scanning to capture each present-day inhabitant. So this process allowed me to uncover many marginal beings that often go unnoticed in the space. So I also collected the dust in the water from the site and placed them under the microscope to reveal the island's microbial ecosystem. So in this context, I placed images of those microbiomes as a representation of decomposed bodies who lived in the past. So one of the central methods in this project is the use of the 3D simulation to visualize decomposition. I worked mostly in the Autodesk Maya, and after many attempts, I figured enclosed simulation generates the most suitable visuals of decay and disintegration. By simulating this process, the work reveals how bodies of human, animals, and microbiomes merge with the land, becoming part of the continuous cycle of renewal. And this approach highlights the interconnectedness of life in the present and the past. So we don't have time. Yeah, so we don't have time to watch this whole 7-minute video, but I wanted to share the key moments from the work. So this is the water kind of like entering to the island, and this is the all 3D scanned images. So coming into the kind of like showing the transition from the city to the island, and want to show you the merging image of the 3D scan, the simulation, and the microbiome images under the microscope. So kind of like this is my visual interpretation of this process. So intimacy of strangers seek to reimagine this relationship and offer a new perspective on the coexistence. So I guess that's my 6 minutes. So I'm gonna end right here. Thank you.
We're gonna just MacGyver here real quick. So I was just thinking if we went here and we do the mirroring.
I know. It is mirroring.
Oh, okay.
Right now.
So I don't know if
So I
there's
think we're
anything.
good.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're good.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna bring up Wenjun Chen. We can actually just, yeah. And then PowerPoint people, I press this, right? Yeah, okay. And let me just move this over. I don't know what happened there. Okay. Looks good. Yeah, so microphone is here.
And hello everyone, I am Wenjun Chen, and I'm very happy to share my work here and on Zoom. And my work titled Aliens of Me, because like on one hand, my work is built on my personal data. The data is like coming out of my body and becoming something I'm not familiar with, very strange. And on the other hand, I think it is also reflecting my identity. And actually, I'm like resident alien in the US. And I think my identity has been in transition, like since I left China. And yeah, so, whoops. Oh yeah, this one, sorry. Should I click? Okay. And I would like to do like a very brief introduction of myself. And I am an interdisciplinary artist working on new media, focusing on exploring the mixed relationship between real and virtual. And my work involves the fields of self-identity, internet and technology, data and personal data. And I just like received my MFA from the Digital and Interdisciplinary Art Practice program at the City College of New York. And that's my website, and yeah, you can know me more there, chairmanjun.net. And yep, and this is my work, Aliens of Me, and it is a self-exploration based on my personal data, like with internet-based technologies, utilizing the web, video, virtual reality, and installation. And I'm using keywords from my memories, which share online, and the figures of my health data, my body data kind of captured by my smartwatch, the Apple Watch. to like reconstruct myself through virtual avatars, a story of my growth and new bodies. And yes, and I start to work on the web page. So I'm just like making some animation and making avatars on the web page. And like since I'm an immigrant artist, so my work is always informed by like migration and displacement, and it's always about like the relationship between digital identity and the physical one. And I would like to ask like how our digital traces mediate like self-identity, and how we navigate a world where personal data is simultaneously intimate and commodified. And I aim to reclaim personal data as a site for self-reflection and expression rather than a commodity to be extracted and exploited. And this is like a data visualization of my body data on the web page, and like it's a 3D scene, so the audience can like navigate themselves and explore on the web page. And this is the main part of my work, is the virtual reality work, and this is only the screen recording, so it's 2D and it's flat, and actually it's like 3D and immersive. And that's the beginning of the VR work. So like the audience is like falling into the world which are built on my personal data. So there are keywords and numbers of my body data. And it is an open world, so the audience can use the VR controller to navigate and explore the world. And there are like these geometry shapes which are generated from my body data, like the new bodies and avatars. And the avatars are like talking about stories of my memories. And this is one of the avatars. It's like a child, and all these images and live materials are from the internet and from AI generation. So it is about a memory about my childhood. Like the kid is surrounded by bunch of smiles and laughter. And actually, because it's a GIF file, so there's no audio. Actually, the avatar is like talking a story of my memory. And there's another avatar like of my memory, like this boy like became like young pioneer, and I guess maybe he was kind of proud of himself, and everything is from the internet and AI generation. 1 minute. Wow. And okay, and it's about all about the memory, about like I also try machine learning and train the image online to create some like AI girlfriend. It's a story about, and also change the image of my face to that become something I don't know who he is. And yes, and recently, and I had a show at PS122 Gallery. Actually, it's our live pieces show, so I can show the work in the physical space with like VR, with the screen recording of the VR, and like the interactive avatar animation, because I'm using the facial mocap, and my intention is trying to like get the data from the audience and try to integrate that data into my work. And you can see that there are so many papers. Actually, it's the data shape of my body data, and it's just like the data dump or data landfill or data charge or something like that. And you can scan the QR code and get some like crazy animation of the avatars. Yeah, and that's my work. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Wenjun. And last but not least, we have Jonah King, New Media Caucus board member. to come present for us. I don't know why it's stuck on Stafford. Yeah, I'm a keynote person myself, but I think we did it right. We'll see. If we did it right in here for sure. If you hit this button right here.
This one, cool. Oh,
yeah,
awesome. Okay, hi everybody. Some of you know this project. I presented it before at New Media Caucus maybe 3 years ago. And at the time, I was trying to figure out something with it. And since that time, a lot has changed in technology. And I feel like the great thing about talking to New Media Caucus people is that we're all sort of curious and like nerdy in a particular way. So rather than give a kind of general overview of the project, I thought I'd just dive into the technological questions that I was having. Basically, just for an introduction, if I haven't talked to you about this before, I started this project in 2017. It's called All My Friends Are in the Cloud, and it involved bringing people to my studio with people they loved, filming them, scanning them, and creating this kind of animation where they disintegrate and evaporate over time. So this is the effect. So this video is of a musician, Ardo Lindsay, and his son Noah, and it was part of a music video that I did for him with this.
Can you just be a little louder?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So at the time, like I had this experience in my 20s, which is psychologists call a compound loss. A number of people close to me died completely unconnected to each other. And I had to deal with this kind of overwhelming experience of grief. And I felt like our society doesn't do grief very well. And I was looking for different ways that cultures and people had processed grief, especially through art, and looked at vanitas paintings, looked at parables in Eastern mythology and all around the place, and eventually landed on these vanitas images that depicted like the passing of time, the inevitability of death, our mortality, that kind of stuff. And I also started thinking about photography and the way that now, like I used to take photos on a DSLR, now I take out my phone every time I want to kind of hold on to something that I feel is like important but passing. So I created these video sculptures that are 3 monitors in a row inside a steel frame, and the carousel of images rise up like this, a little bit like an Instagram or social media feed, displaying this evaporating, disintegrating couples. And so this project, this is around 2018 now, this project traveled, it was in group shows. Sorry, I forgot. Oh, great. Yeah, totally. So I used it in different places, and then I showed it in the Museum of Modern Art in Ireland, which is this image here. And pretty quickly people wanted to be in it, and I really wanted to be able to bring people into it and kind of expand the archive of evaporating embraces. But the way that I was making this project was really kind of janky. I would film people in front of a green screen on this really awkward, like photography Jenny that I bought off Amazon for like $50, and it would break if people were, the wrong size or whatever. And it was just like really uncomfortable. And sometimes in the videos, people are kind of wobbling because they're trying to keep their balance. So I started working with in different places, first of all in Illinois State University, to try to build an apparatus that could create a kind of pipeline for people to take part in this project. So this is Zach Buckley from the art technology program in Illinois State University. And these are like 100 Raspberry Pis with little cameras that we were trying to create a photogrammetry rig for this to work. It didn't really work. We couldn't get it to work. And so then we created, you can kind of see at the top there, there's like a sort of spinning bar. So eventually we had like the world's most elaborate iPad holder that would just spin an iPad around people, and it had the structure sensor scanner on top of it. And the idea was that you could go in, be scanned, and then you would appear in this real, and it kind of worked. What would happen is you'd get these scans and then they'd be ported using Python into this server, and the server would play on 3JS. So everything was animated in 3JS. But what happened was this was kind of like not so great. And the really nice moment in the project is when the photorealistic video transitions into the digital scan. And I just couldn't get it to work. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how this was going to happen. And I went to New Ink and pitched it there, and I talked to lots of people. And eventually I got a quote that it would cost like $250,000 to make this thing happen. And so that was kind of 2019. That image from the Irish Museum of Modern Art actually got turned, that hallway got turned into an overflow morgue during COVID. So it had this kind of weird resonance. And I just kind of left it. Like another project came along, got a grant, did that. And now a couple of years later, it's like that's finished and I'm going back to it. And wonderfully, the technology now exists on our phone to get pretty much photoreal scans. So I think it's just a lesson that we can all be, we're probably all familiar with. Gaussian splatting is this new process involving a little bit of AI, but mainly a different kind of tessellation process, where we get something that looks almost photoreal, and I can create images of people that are really nice. And so I'm continuing this project now. Yeah, starting right now. And I need some volunteers. So if you want to, like because it's Valentine's Day Eve, if you want to bring someone you love to my studio, the first round is April 17th, and I'll continue it over the next couple of months. So just shoot me an email, that's my address. You will get a copy of your video of you disintegrating. So that's me.
Great. Thank you to our in-person presenters for being here, and thank you to all of our virtual presenters as well. We're going to have a very short Q&A. We have to be out of here in 10 minutes. Although we will, the people on Zoom should feel welcome to continue talking. The people on Zoom should, of course, feel free to continue talking. And just a reminder to everyone in person, we're inviting you to the Joyce Public House after for mixing and mingling. And we also want to thank our wine sponsor. Our wine was sponsored, that's why it was good. And Joyce Eugene Lee arranged the wine sponsorship with Skurnik and the Pinot Project. And the other thing I want to remind you is both here and down at the Joyce Public House, our president, Nick Braun-Traeger, has our wonderful new tote bag for purchase. If you want to, if you were already a New Media Caucus person, or now that you're in, you want to represent. So I'm going to turn it over to my co-chair, Eden, to get the Q&A started.
Okay. So, I wanted to start with a question. I don't know if Inge is still here. I think they might have left.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. When is Rome.com coming online?
Actually, in the next couple of days should
Okay.
be possible.
It's the most fascinating project. I am so mesmerized by that. So thank you. That was just really, I look forward to actually interacting with that.
Yes, please do, and just to get in touch.
Okay, I certainly will. Thank you. And next question I have is actually for Reid. Reid, when you had that performance, what was the arc of the performance? You showed segments of it, and how does that performance end? I mean, at the beginning, it's very clear that you're being attached into all of these sort of extensions, but where does the performance? What's the arc, and where does the performance end?
Yeah, so essentially I enter the performance space and I'm sort of like draped in like a laboratory gown, sort of covered up, I disrobe and sort of like reveal my like floppy latex flesh. So I'm very floppy and saggy at the beginning of the performance. As the performance escalates, I'm like inhaling into my suit. So I'm like expanding and getting filling out my silhouette. And the pinnacle of the performance, I'm essentially like sort of fully formed into sort of this new entity, this new form. And I sort of like assimilate. So that was like my graduate thesis work. And it was in like the galleries of my school here in Chicago. So essentially, like I sort of just like go out into the world and am presenting myself in this new form. So essentially, like the performance ends in me sort of like really excitedly and like showing off my new form. So yeah, so that's sort of like the pinnacle of the performance.
Do we have any questions from either the audience or the other participants online?
Does anyone in the room want to ask a question? I'll repeat it so that they can hear it.
Thank
If you
you.
have a question about any of the. I can ask one question that's really for anyone to answer, but not everyone, unfortunately, because we don't have the time. But I'm curious, as sort of practitioners of new media, sometimes some of us like have a certain technology we just like working with, and we keep making different projects and stories or concepts in that technology, and others of us sometimes are approaching it the other way, where we might have an idea or a story or a concept or a vision, and then we're kind of learning the technology to serve that because we think that technology will be the one that serves this project best. And I'm curious if anyone wanted to talk about which of those strategies they used and how they decided kind of what media to work in. Or especially if there's anyone who like learned something new because they thought it would serve a new idea they were having.
I actually first want to direct that question to Zen, because Zen sort of is dealing with this sort of old technology, new technology. So
Yeah, that's a really good question. I did actually learn Touch Designer for this project. I'm still learning it. I still feel like a beginner, but I've used other node-based programs. So I worked a lot with Max MSP in undergrad and was doing kind of a similar layout with where I was mixing pre-recorded video clips with a live camera and using as a kind of performance tool. So actually visible as the performer alongside the projection. So I feel like it is kind of within that lineage, that way of working and approaching video. But yeah, really excited to learn Touch Designer and just see all the possibilities. This is also my first time doing an interactive work too, so a lot of new technology for me with this project.
I actually want to direct that same question again to Daniela and Inge. Your field is so opposite of interaction, of co-authorship. Like, when you came to this technology, what was your first reaction to?
Yes, indeed, it is quite new for us in terms of methodology, because what we did quite for some time is producing the furniture of the game, like visualizations and 3D models. So we, for years, developed that method that is not usually done in art history. So in art history, you have something like floor plans of architecture. These are the visuals that we create intrinsically, but mostly we are using screenshots and documentary photos. However, there is a disadvantage in using only those, because if we create our own visualizations, they serve our arguments way better, or they can serve our arguments way better. So there was a lot to learn for us. And as none of our group members were game developers, we were learning on the mission. And yeah, I don't know, I could talk for hours what we actually learned, but it was definitely worth it.
Stafford, did you face any when you sort of started developing the game, there's that sort of, again, stereotyping of gaming being something very like Japanese and Korean, for example, because, you know, especially Japan has had a huge gaming industry. Has the medium itself had any kind of pushback of that nature? Stafford, that question was for you. You're muted.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know like how much the gaming industry in particular was so important. It was more about taking tropes from games that both were from my childhood, like Centipede and Tetris, but also there are these like newer games of like falling fruit, and they sort of worked with the idea of building up and just that pressure that becomes like part of my daily sort of soundtrack inside that no one else hears. That's what I was kind of referencing with that.
There's an interesting parallel between that stereotyping, like when you are in game design departments, often students especially with are not of Asian descent, will often sort of have, you know, they will start taking Japanese classes and they'll talk about Japan and Korea or China, and in that process they often sort of have a tendency to flatten Chinese, Japanese, and Korean cultures because they don't have a deep understanding of it. And I'm just wondering if you had the choice of media or the medium you chose has something to do with sort of a pushback against that kind of tropism that comes through the gaming industry too.
Yeah, I think maybe not so much through the gaming industry, but you know, if you get to look at the whole video, it actually ends with the words from Karate Kid of wax on, wax off, which is kind of a way of resistance. And so it's kind of pushing back against the sort of the pop culture more than the gaming industry.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We who are in person are going to have to move venues, but I will leave in I don't know. I'll have to fit. I'll make Eden full host so that when I leave, it won't end the meeting if you want to keep going with questions. But thank you so much. Thank you to all of our virtual folks, and we want to give a hand here for you. And thank you to our in-person presenters as well. And I hope that some of you will join us at the Joyce Public House for some more socializing.
Thank you, folks. I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. It is 10 o'clock on the Eastern time zone. So if anyone wants to sit around, I'll wait until the last person departs. But otherwise, please feel free if you need to go.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eden. This was great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eden. Bye.
Everyone's work.
Take care.
Thank you all. Thanks everyone who shared.
Thank you all.